Well, government watchdog Mattie Duppler says that is the problem with bailouts. Taxpayers keep losing out. And a guy named Ty on the big government lie. Wealth manager Ty Young here, too, on a not-so-high and mighty Fannie. Ty, the markets were kind of sanguine on this and say, well, no surprise, blah, 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 blah. But I think it's offensive.
Oh, thanks for having me back, Neil. And of course it's offensive. When Bank of America took over Countrywide loans, under TARP, the federal government agreed to pay back any losses that Bank of America had because of Countrywide. So when Bank of America writes a $10 billion check to Fannie Mae, ultimately taxpayers are going to be on the hook. And it doesn't end there. The executives at Fannie Mae and are losing money hand over fist and still getting bonuses. Only in a government agency do you get a bonus when you lose money hand over fist. In the private sector, if you lose money hand over fist, you get fired.
You know, what's weird about it, Mattie, is that the bank is paying these penalties for an entity the government all but forced it to buy. So leaving the hypocrisy, as Ty pointed out, of that, you got to wonder when Fannie gets its just desserts and we get just some of our money. Ever happen?
Right. You know, it's a sweet deal for these GSEs that continue to override any kind of hope of a private market in home ownership. But, you know, you hit the nail on the head. We're talking about $10 billion, which in the scheme of things of the hundreds and billions we've spent to bail out these banks doesn't seem like a lot. But to the taxpayers who are footing the bill for these bailouts, for the moral hazard the government continues to encourage, that's a lot of money. And it sets the stage for what we're going to see, even more government intervention, not only in home ownership, but in the banking system writ large.
We've got
Mattie,
a banking
where
system
does that
money go? The $10 billion here, the $8.5 billion separate bank agreement. There's got to be a big old fund to make whole to investors who were either burnt or mortgage holdees who were screwed. But I tend to think it's just an open box that everyone raids.
Oh, absolutely. This is a slush fund to continue the entire government-sponsored enterprise of allowing banks to make risky lending decisions, knowing that taxpayers are going to bail them out in the end. You know, looking at the Countrywide deal, no rational person would have taken that deal. But knowing that taxpayers were going to be the backstop for any kind of risky lending procedure, of course Bank of America is going to dive right in. They know it's going to be a cash cow for them in the end.
You know, Ty, leaving aside the hypocrisy in some of this, and everyone taking bows at Fannie, see the kind of pain we exacted out of Bank of America for the deal that the government that's protecting us got out of the country, that forcibly had to buy something from us and then pay us. It gets convoluted, but you know what I'm saying. How can Wall Street accept or continue to feel good about being very, very much joined at the hip with the same government it wants to break from?
It's interesting. The market, obviously, at this point is trading on the government printing money, and it's a hard relationship. The reality is...
What happened in the days, Ty, like guys like you, and I know you're different because you're actually a good guy, but used to espouse laissez-faire.
Thank you.
Out of my backyard, out of my business, I'll make it on my own, I'll fail on my own.
Well, I completely agree with that. As far as Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, as far as I'm concerned, what we should do is we should pull their charters, sell off their assets, and not have the goal of lending money to people who are not creditworthy and have a history of not paying it back. If we continue on the same path that we're on, loaning money again to people that are not creditworthy, we can expect the same result that we got last time.
Mattie, what is it with Freddie and Fannie, these institutions that are beyond reproach, that are never investigated, that are kept out of big laws? The executives either have compromising photos of powers that be in Washington, or there's a blind spot. What is it?
Well, you know, it's a tale as old as time. The government gets involved, and all of a sudden it's hungry for more. And they see the GSEs, Fannie and Freddie, as their way to the private enterprise that used to exist in the banking community. You know, and the problem that we have is we're looking at the Dodd-Frank bill that was never really fully fleshed out. It's really kicked a lot of this kind of rulemaking out to bureaucrats who aren't elected, who don't have to answer to American voters. And we're going to see a lot more of this kind of capricious rulemaking that allows these GSEs who are sucking taxpayers dry carte blanche to continue these kinds of practices. It's really a problem that we're going to be seeing next year probably or so.
Yeah, because I keep thinking of the $10 billion they got and a fraction of what they owe us.
Right.
I'm just crazy. Mattie, thank you both very much.
Thanks a lot, Neil.
Provide some reason
we
need it in this new year.